Mistakes and missed opportunities have the Guardians season on the brink, but should they feel good about themselves? We'll talk about what the Guardians need to do to extend their season at least one more game.
Tanner Bobby of the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into an episode of Locked On Guardians Playoff Edition, Wildcard Edition. I know everybody's reeling from Tuesday's loss, but we got some things to get into on Wednesday that are at least going to make you feel good about the Guardians' chances to extend this series. I'm Justin Lada, one of your two co-hosts, and I've been here for the last 3 years. My friend and co-host Jeff Ellis, and I've been covering the Guardians minor league farm system for 18 years. And of course, this is Locked On Guardians, the only daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians that covers your Cleveland Guardians from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, your Cleveland Guardians, every single day.
As you mentioned, I am Jeff Ellis, one of the first hosts Locked On reached out to when they decided, let's talk about baseball. Before that, I was a national writer at Scott 24/7. I want to thank you for making today's episode your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts, as well as a big shout out to all of our everydayers, to all the people out there who were a little more measured in their comments. It was a rough day. Don't get me wrong. We were all very frustrated for multiple reasons after the game today. But I'm also going to sit back and say there's some reasons for hope. And we'll get into that on today's show.
Yes, absolutely. We'll talk about how the Guardians are going to respond on Wednesday or how they can keep this season, at least this series, going for one more game. We'll talk about the opportunities that were missed in this game and kind of talk through the frustrations. But we'll lead off the show talking about the Guardians' need for finding balance and making the right decisions, because playoffs are the time of year where second guessing gets the most under the microscope. So before we get into it today's episode of Locked On Guardians, of course, brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Yeah, shout out to the everydayers, shout out to the insiders. We had a fun time. I don't want to say fun. We had a therapeutic time doing a little bit of a postcast after the game. I think that was just as good for me as it was for everybody else, I hope, because it was good to get the emotions out like right after and then come back and do the regular show with a more measured take. But some of the issues still remain. There are some good pieces we'll get into, but there are still some concerning pieces that we're going to start off with, unfortunately, because they did lose this game. But the Guardians were a few bounces of the baseball away from being up 1-0 in the series and beating Skubal, despite the fact they did absolutely nothing offensively, but neither did the Tigers. And that's credit to Gavin Williams, obviously. But here's the thing we have to start off with. It's the defense. And to me, it's this quote by Stephen Vogt. And I'm not saying like I know more than Stephen Vogt and he's wrong. This is just plain simple guessing and second guessing and trying to talk through, maybe the process or decision could have been a little different. Maybe what might have worked better in hindsight. Easy to say, but the question after the game, which came from Casey Mize, which I really appreciated this question, talking about finding balance to get right-handed bats in there versus their defense, against Skubal. And his response was they needed to score. They balance defense and offense all the time. And when you're facing Skubal, you have to score. And yes, it's true in baseball. You can't win if you don't score. However...
Are you sure about that?
This isn't golf. Yeah, I think you have to have a positive run differential.
I got to go look that up. I don't know about that.
The Guardians did make the playoffs with a negative run differential, so I guess that begs the question. The issue I have with this is the Guardians are not a team that leans on their offense. This is not a team that's built to win offensively. This is not 95 Indians. This is not the 2000 or the 99 Indians. This version of the Guardians is built to win on pitching. The reason they got back into the playoff race and won the division ultimately is because their pitching was really good. Their defense was really good. This team does not win because they can out-hit other teams. So when you're facing a guy like Skubal, I understand you got to find a way to claw out some runs. I just don't trust a guy like Jonathan Rodriguez to be a guy who is going to hit Skubal. I guess the argument is, yes, he had a great weekend against Texas. The Texas doesn't have a pitcher in the same galaxy it's Tarek Skubal. Like, they didn't face Jacob deGrom, and Jacob deGrom in 2025 has
Jack
nothing.
Leiter did a Tarek Skubal impersonation against this team both times he faced him.
And Jonathan Rodriguez didn't play, so
he did.
It's not in that game.
Versus...
Not on Friday. Not against Jack Leiter. So we don't have a comparison there.
That's right. It was against Latz. My fault.
Yeah. So I understand the need to balance, and I understand the need to try to put your best foot forward. But I don't know if this is the best foot forward for them, because Rodriguez was overblown offensively, and he cost them defensively. And even in the Texas series, every time he was in the lineup, I said, please, dear God, don't hit a ball to right field. And luckily it didn't really burn them in the Texas series, but in the playoffs, it really burned them. And the worst part about it is this is a play that a middle schooler, a JV player makes. Like, it was a single. All he had to do was pick up and throw it in the infield. Instead, he kicked it like he was playing hacky sack. Bring back Zach McAllister, apparently. Maybe he would have made that play. Comment if you remember that play. That gave the Tigers their first run. And obviously Noel gave him a second run with an error later in the game too. One of those two guys was always going to play. I get that. But I think the Guardians should have at least made a play in the outfield for a little bit better defense, like a little bit better balance. I think they had a very poor balance in this game, because you're not going to beat Tarek Skubal by scoring 4, 5, 6 runs. You have to win this game 2-1. They lost 2-1. That's how you
the other side. You're also making the argument against you. If you're going to win 2-1, you kind of do need to load up on right-handed bats and hope. I mean, we talked about all year, Mr. Right Now. They tried it. I know in the comments everyone's going to disagree with me because it didn't work, right? Like, that's the thing. And he made a terrible play. But when you have a small razor's edge, I think you got to try things. They're trying different things. They're throwing in Rodriguez, even though it's his third game, essentially, since he was sent down. They added DeLauter to the roster. They are trying to find ways to attack. And in a game that they did, they lost 2-1, where the other team had 0 earned runs. You're trying to do anything to raise the level of what you can do to get a run across. Is it necessarily what I would have done? No. But I can understand the logic of it, even if every time I saw Rodriguez out there, I was like, it is a concern. But if it is you're not going to win 4-5. You don't have the ability to do that. You're trying to raise the overall floor of your offense. You're hoping he can fall into one. The same reason Noel has had a home run off of Skubal. You're hoping these are guys. And while he didn't do it, he did also have the hardest hit ball of the day, right? Like, you're hoping that what is there, you're putting these guys in with the hope that, hey, maybe these are the guys who can actually take something that someone like Skubal throws. If they make contact, which they didn't for the most part, they're going to put it into the outfield, right? Like, that's the other side of it.
And ironically, the only guy that put the ball in the outfield was Cal Manzardo, a left-hander.
Yeah, it's just, something I told you, in text after the game and stuff like that. It's like, we're in this situation where, guys, if Nolan Jones and Carlos Santana were still on this team, they win today. Well, nothing. Like, you have Santana in first and Jones in the outfield. Guess what? You win this one. For all of the hate they took this year, it's like those were the guys through a good part of the season. If you had David Fry, you'd have Manzardo at first, and your outfielder probably would have been Noel. You probably still win in that situation because, maybe Noel, he's not going to butcher that play that Rodriguez did. Like, that's just a play no one butchers except for him. And they kind of, they're very much, because they have, moved on from players. They've had other guys get hurt. They're kind of scraping the barrel, trying to, I know there's a lot of people out there like, forget platoons. Platoons got them here. Like, no matter how you feel about them, this is how this team was built.
Did they though? Because
yes, because you go and you look at Angel Martinez, where it's like a 70-point difference in his splits. Once they move, CJ Kafis has pretty dramatic splits through his, I believe at the major league level. His data has been up and down. It's a small sample. It's really hard to say.
But is that a correlation or a causation? Because they use platoons, but were they effective? Like, you can't say, okay, well, they're here because of platoons. They used them. That doesn't mean they were effective. Yes, Martinez.
They made the postseason, and they used platoons heavily down the stretch.
But that's correlation, not causation.
It's not, because it's the last month it was effective for them. Their offensive numbers were up. They're hitting better runners in scoring position. It was effective for them over this last final month of the season. And that's how they got here, was effectively using platoons. Now, most of the year, was it effective? that's a bigger debate. But I can say the reason they got here was a hot month of September where they leaned into those platoons, and those platoons were effective in September.
I would still argue the reason they're in this position is because they're pitching and defense, and they had enough time.
It had to be all of it. It was all aspects. They had like over 300 with runners. Like they showed the stats in the last game. All the things, even offensively.
They did, but the reason they were winning is because 19 games in a row, the starting pitcher didn't allow.
But it also took having
runs.
a league average offense, which was like the only time all year they did that was in the month of September while doing this. So it's all aspects.
We'll talk more about balance. We'll talk about the missed opportunities this game. We'll talk about how the Guardians are going to respond and keep their season going into Thursday. More of that on today's Locked On Guardians. Stick around. Tickets are still pretty hot for this series, and they're going to be all postseason long. We know that catching a baseball game live, the energy, the crowd, and the chance to see our team in person, that is a lot of fun. But actually buying the tickets, that can be a real pain. You don't want to go through queues, login screens, surprise fees, searching all around for the best deal and what things are going to look like when you get there. That's why I always rely on Game Time, because it's an app that gives advantage back to fans like you and me. Game Time is fast, it's easy, it's backed by the Game Time guarantee, so you're always getting 100% authentic tickets. They're delivered on time, and you know that you're getting the best price because it's going to go through and tell you exactly what the best price is no matter where it is listed. All fees are included, so you're never surprised at checkout with any crazy fees. And you also have a chance to kind of look to see exactly where you're going to sit at the game, all that good stuff. So download the Game Time app, create an account. You can use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. I was having a conversation with a family member over the weekend about finances and taking control of your finances. And we got onto the conversation about Monarch Money because I, like many other people, can't name all the financial accounts, and that includes things like 401ks, properties, and investments. So if you don't have the full picture, you could end up leaving money on the table. That's a challenge for a lot of us. And that is why Monarch Money is important because it's an all-in-one finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone, and it's built for people like us. You're listening to this podcast probably at work or while you're running, trying to work out. You don't have a lot of time to sit down and organize your finances, and Monarch Money is going to do that for you. It does the heavy lifting for you. Link your accounts, see data visuals, get categorization of your spending, and feel in charge of your money. Do not let this financial opportunity slip through the cracks. If you use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser, you're going to get half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com using the code LOCKEDONMLB. If you like what you're hearing, make sure you hit the bell on YouTube. Smash the like button, as they like to say, right? That's what the cool kids are saying. You'll always get the reaction videos sent right to your phone. You'll get, notifications when we're doing a post-game debrief like I did after the game on Tuesday, previews, videos, breaking news videos, all that kind of stuff that comes up on our channel. And if you hit the auto download on audio, you'll always get the episodes into your feed too, and that's the best way to support the podcast. So we appreciate all you being here, and no matter where you're listening. All right, let's wrap up the conversation, Jeff, about the idea to find balance with this roster. I agree with what you said 100% before about Jones and Santana, and the other thing too, to kind of segue into the conversation on missed opportunities, those two guys see a lot of pitches. That would have been very beneficial against Tarek Skubal because early on, this team did not do a great job of getting his pitch count up. It took a while for them to settle in and start fouling balls off and taking some pitches and working the count a little bit. I'd have to look at the numbers, though, to go back to finish that conversation from before. I'd have to go look at the numbers, what the platoon advantages and splits were in this, and specifically in September, because I don't really necessarily look at it and say, well, that was a surefire sign the offense had found its footing and we found the rotation or the setup that works. I think it just happened to come through at the right time, and they didn't need to do a whole lot. They just had to hit runners in scoring position because the pitching was so good. And I also want to point out too, like I know you were saying a little bit about how Rodriguez has been hot lately, and I agree. We talk very much about needing to find Mr. Right Now. I I don't agree with assuming that, okay, Rodriguez had 2 good games against Texas Rangers, who are not a playoff team. He's the guy you want in there against the Detroit Tigers and Tarek Skubal with the game on the season on the line. Like, I just don't believe that. Like, that to me is reading into a small sample size and not really giving a good evaluation.
That's the Mr. Right Now. Everything with Mr. Right Now is small sample size. That's the whole point of it.
You're right, but I think there's other ways to go about it. I personally, that's what I would have done. Again, this is second guessing, and this gets magnetized in the playoffs. And I'm not saying I should be hired up or vote or anything, but Noel's a better defender than Wright. He's already had a home run off Tarek Skubal a couple weeks ago. He's you put him in the lineup. You put Manzardo at first. You could DH Rodriguez. So you get both those guys in the lineup. I would have DH Rodriguez. To me, that was the biggest egregious thing in this game. Was Rodriguez in right field. That was the thing that scared me the most, and that's what's been scaring me the most since they recalled him. And it came back to finally bite them. But it wasn't the only reason they lost. Like Noel
is every bit as culpable, I should say.
And
as he is.
The worst part about that is Noel's actually a good defender at first base, and he just screwed.
He's got a lot of reps there. A lot of people were commenting, "Oh, why do you put a guy who hasn't played them?" Like he's played there quite a bit. People like he's not.
That's his best defensive position.
That's his natural home.
And he's not as good as Kafis, but that doesn't mean he's bad either. Like that's a play he should have made, and give him credit for stopping that ball. It was a hard hit ball. He knocked it down. His foot just came off the bag at the wrong time, and that would have kept the run off the board because the Tigers were able to go for a safety squeeze. And that's the other thing that hurts the most with this loss too, Jeff, is not only did they make mistakes in a game they could have won 1-0, as nerve-wracking as that would have been, but the Tigers beat them at their own game.
Yeah.
They bunted twice to beat them. And that really hurts that the Guardians weren't able to capitalize. They had 3 opportunities. They scored once in this game, but not once did bunting work for them in this one. So,
and I think
give the Tigers credit.
And to me, I think maybe the most egregious thing, like I can understand the logic, at least of what they did with those 2 players. Was it what I would have liked to see? No. Is it what I would have agreed with? I'm defending it, but because I can understand why, but I don't love it. And to me, the killer was, to push ahead is when you sit there with Jose at, third base with nobody out.
In the 9th, yeah.
In the 9th. And so Valera, Kavish, Schneemann all have strikeout rates over 27%. That's who you had on your bench, is those 3 guys, all over 27%. Honestly, at that point in time, like you and I talked off air, you and I both agreed. And we texted about this and we talked about it, that like, that's the time for this team to do the safety squeeze. Send in Schneemann and do your own version of that. Like, why are we going out there free swinging, trying to put they have a terrible bullpen. We know this. Like, if you bust up Will Vest again, like twice, and like that's going to be something that like stands out. If you cause him to blow another save, like going to, and a lot of people got mad at Jose. We can talk about that, but like he was running on contact. He needed to keep running. That was the thing to do. But like, why with a team with contact issues, I didn't love sending him Valera in that situation. I didn't love the approach. You can swing away with Manzardo. Obviously, that didn't go great either. But like, you got to play for the run. You did it with 2 outs with Rocchio, who bunted on a bad pitch that was out of the zone. The Tigers did it. We've done it in the last month. You want to talk about things that have been successful for them in the last month? It's been things like squeeze plays. We've done a ton of them. I don't know why they didn't go to that. That it's, to me, is the bigger failed call of this game.
Yeah. You got out guards ball by the Tigers. That's not good. 100%. I think you're right. Because Schneemann, like if it comes down to it, like he's a swing and miss guy too. And he ended up pinch running for Manzardo. But, when you send Valera up there, you're basically looking to end the game, right? Like it's Jose's on third with nobody out, but Valera is a guy where you're looking to end the game, basically.
He misses in the zone a lot.
Or
he makes contact.
Or he ends up on second base with a double. Like that's what you're looking for, the chance to win the game. But instead of trying to extend the game and push it to extra innings with Jose on third with nobody out, Schneemann could have bunted, and if Schneemann doesn't get the bunt down and it gets 2 strikes, like he's capable of hitting a fly ball too, like everybody else, or he's capable of striking out. Manzardo, but I mean, those guys didn't execute. Let's be honest too; those guys didn't execute. You could have put him in better positions. Manzardo wasn't going to be pinch hit for, which I agree with. It just didn't work. Agreed. And then you went to Kafis, and it didn't work. And as far as Jose running home and not scoring, yes, he ran on contact, which is what the Guardians do. That was where they stuck true to themselves. They ran home on contact. And if that ball takes one more bounce and Will Vest doesn't get it, the game's tie anyway. It just, he happened to grab that ball on the bouncer, and that's the way the ball bounced.
It became like a bad bunt, is what it became.
Yeah, it basically became a bad bunt.
If they had actually tried to bunt, it might be an entirely different story.
Yeah, it really would have been. And Jose just hesitated at the end. If he doesn't hesitate, he at least forces a throw home, and who knows? Maybe he scores the way Angel Martinez scores. Maybe it's a bad throw. The hesitation there, and I will say too, if he doesn't hesitate, if he scores, they're going home. And they have to make a play at the plate. That could allow Manzardo to go to second. And then if Jose is out, then you have Daniel Sheeman on second base with one out. And that's still like a better outcome than what happened to them. So that was another missed opportunity. All right, we'll finish up talking about missed opportunities. We'll move on to game 2. We'll talk about how the Guardians can respond. Do they have a secret weapon ready to go up their sleeve? We'll talk about that next.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets across the app. I used to tell people when it got over 200, that's when you want to do it. 300 is a new high. That is 100% the newest high we've ever had for FanDuel. This is the best offer you are going to get. It's bet 5, get $300 in bonus bets. You probably could have bet the over on strikeouts in yesterday's game and been in a good situation. Is that a thing? I don't know. You let me know. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
If you like what you're hearing, or you just want to hear more playoff coverage that doesn't feel like a 4-letter network, make sure you're tuning in to MLB Game Night. All of our hosts at MLB Game Night will be covering the playoffs all October long, I should say. Almost said September because the playoffs start in September, but it'll be all October long. You'll get their insights. You'll also get local insights from all the experts at Locked On, including us, if you want to call us experts. But everybody will have their post-game reactions on that show and give you the insights that all the national news won't do. So make sure you're checking out MLB Game Night on YouTube and wherever you get podcasts as well. And boy, I'm watching this Dodgers and Reds game, and it is now 6-0 LA, and the Reds postseason is quickly going to be ending very fast the way this is going. But the Guardians, they have a much better chance on Wednesday to keep their season going. My prediction was that this team would win the series in 3 games. And I said, if you listen to the previous show, the crossover I did with Scott Bentley of Locked On Tigers, I said Guardians lose game 1, they win game 2 and 3. Now, I thought Casey Mize would go game 3. I thought Jack Flaherty would go game 2. I'll be curious to see what happens with Mize in game 2 because he's been very good for them recently. He was an all-star this year. He pitched very well on Friday night when they clinched their playoff spot. Or not, no, they lost on Friday. I'm sorry. That was Will Vest who blew it in Boston on Friday. But he pitched very well in that game. And he throws a very good splitter, which we know the Guardians struggle against. They'll have to get the splitter up. I'll do maybe I do a scouting report video before that one to go a little bit more in depth. But the Guardians, they could have won this game. So I feel like even though it was very putrid offensively, they had Bo Naylor up with Petey Halpin on second base. A base hit there gives them the lead or ties the game. Jose could have scored in the 9th inning. The bunt by Rocchio that followed the chaos where they scored their first run. I think it was a good call and just bad execution because that's just the way the Guardians play ball, and that's how you beat Tarek Skubal apparently, and it just didn't work out. So that's one of those things where I can see the logic behind it. It just was not a good execution overall. So the Guardians literally had multiple chances, and if they play clean defense and get one more with runners in score position, whether it's Rocchio bunt or one of those guys hits a sac fly in the 9th, or if Bo Naylor hits the base hit in the 8th, they win this game. They win this game because Gavin Williams. We haven't talked about Gavin Williams before we move on to Wednesday, but Gavin Williams was magical. I mean, this was the big moment for Big Rig. Like, this is the pitcher we always envisioned him being when the Guardians drafted him. This was always his ceiling, and I think he matched. I know Tarek Skubal had 14 strikeouts, but I think Gavin Williams matched him pitch for pitch. I mean, Gavin Williams had 19 swings and misses. Skubal ended up with 26, but Gavin Williams was right there with him the whole time. And if the defense doesn't let him down, we're talking about how Gavin Williams outpitched Tarek Skubal with the season on the line.
Yeah. I mean, it was both were great. The other problem too for defense letting him down, and then the double to Riley Green, where I mean, on the other side of it, there was no big hits.
Gavin walked less than Skubal, by the way.
He did, and Gavin had a few more jams than Skubal, and he had to work out of it. I do want to throw one note out there on Casey Mize for anyone watching. This year, he has secretly been a left-handed pitcher. That's the interesting thing in the data. He is killing left-handed hitter. That's why they're going to him in game 2. His strikeout rate is higher. His walk rate is lower. His home run rate is lower. It's a 3.17 FIP versus lefties versus a 4.73 versus righties. He actually is a left. He's presenting as a left-handed pitcher right now. He is really doing his damage heavily against lefties because teams will load up with lefties if they're not looking too deep. But I bet, and that's the thing, like teams, for all of their data, for all their knowledge, for all their information, still have a tendency to not believe in reverse splits.
Right.
And you're going to see them load up. And if you go look at his Savant page, I mean, a lot of his pitches have negative values except for breaking ball, which is, has good data. And I'm assuming that's what the splitter tends to end up getting classified as. But his fastball is negative and his off-speed pitch is very negative. All he has is extension and walks. But he is, especially against lefties, he is throwing fastball, and then the splitter jumps up to 32%. So this is a guy who, right now, he's going to be almost entirely fastball splitter tomorrow.
Yep, that's going to be tough for the lefties. All right, so I said that, I didn't like Vogt's quote about trying to score against Skubal when clearly I think that the strategy was to play a clean game and hope that the hits fall where they do. But what I did like what he said was this. He said, our backs have been against the wall for 3 months, once one more day. And I agree with that 100%. This team has been playing like their season could end any day for the last 3 months, especially the last month, the way they've been playing. So I don't feel like being down 0-1 in this series is going to cause them to panic and play any different. And I feel like they played a little bit different on Wednesday, or Tuesday, but overall not that big of a deal. I don't think this team is going to shrink because their season's on the brink. I think we've seen them be resilient all year long. And I think Tanner Bibee is the right pitcher for this moment, too. I think he's a guy who likes pitching with his back against the wall.
Sometimes he gets a little too amped. That's going to be the
question. That's what I was going to say. As long as he can control his emotions, I think he'll be fine. I think he's the right guy overall for the moment for this spot. The other thing is, you just talked about the reverse platoon splits. I think the Guardians are going to ignore it. I think they are. I think you said, give them credit. They've been trying different things to get this thing going. I mean, Chase DeLauter's on this roster. They didn't. I know we talked about is he here because of experience and rewards.
That was just if he was only on the taxi squad. Now that he's on the roster, I assume they're going to use him.
Yeah, I think the fact he's on the roster means he's going to play. I don't see why you wouldn't. Obviously, we're going to play him against Tarek Skubal, but I would not be surprised if Chase DeLauter's in the starting lineup on Wednesday at all. I think, even though you said reverse platoon splits, and the reason I actually like the idea of Chase DeLauter playing is because not like Detroit's not going to have scouting reports because everybody has detailed scouting reports from AAA all the way down to single A.
Okay, he probably faced Mize at some point when Mize was doing his rehab earlier this year.
Probably if DeLauter wasn't also rehabbing at that point in Arizona. But there's a little bit of the element of unknown. There are times when a hitter maybe has a little bit of an advantage when it's the first time a pitcher's ever seen him. You might as well. I look at it this way: go big or go home. Because if you don't go big on Wednesday, you are going home. I'm okay with it. I know some people have been texting me and saying, well, I don't really like the idea of a guy who has missed 2.5 months playing in a game where your season's on the line over other guys who have been better or have been here. And I'm like, I get that, but you want to know what? You got to put your best foot forward. You have to put your best lineup out there. I think Chase DeLauter does give you the best chance to put the best lineup out there and extend your season for one more day. I'm not against it. So I would not be surprised if he's in the lineup on Wednesday.
I have no idea if Chase DeLauter actually has the best foot forward or not. I have to be honest, just because
that's fair.
The missed time, the kind of weird swing, the big time platoon issues. He's a guy who does not hit lefties well.
So the splitter could be a hard time for him.
So the splitter could be exceptionally hard for him tomorrow. But at the same time, if you look, and we talked about voter, as they call him on TV, is a dyed-in-the-wool believer. He worships at the altar of platoons. And
he says he doesn't believe in platoons. He says that, but his actions prove a different thing.
You never listen to voters press conference. They don't matter. It's all just a word salad. It's a jumble. And so if you look at it, we essentially know that, more than likely they're going to treat Mize like a righty, not like a lefty, even though he's presenting that way. So Rodriguez is out and Noel is out. So now you're going to have Capus and Valera. And those guys with Manzardo are going to be, your right field, first base, DH. The other platoon guy is on hell. So unless they do something crazy, like put George Valera in center field, which he hasn't done since like low A, or put Quan in center, which they've never attempted, and I don't think they will, because I talked about that earlier this year. The most pitches in baseball actually go to left field. That's where you get the highest amount of balls landing. That's very specifically why they keep Quan there. It does, I assume it's kind of like instead of having Schneemann play center, that maybe this is the way they'll go instead of the Schneemann Martinez platoon. If it happens, that's the only thing I can think. I mean, can you think of anywhere else?
I mean, I guess you could play him in right and put Schneemann in center, because Schneemann has the.
But then you would have to not play either Capus or.
Well, no,
Valera.
you could play Capus at first and DH Manzardo.
Yeah, but then you don't get Valera in. So then
it depends. Do you like that's what we talked about to start the show, is finding balance. Does it make more sense to have a little bit better defense in right field and have a guy playing center who knows the ballpark a little better, like Schneemann? Is he a great center fielder? No, but he at least knows the ballpark a little
Probably
better.
Second best on the team, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, he knows how. I mean, that center field wall is hard to play. Yeah. There's a lot of angles, so Schneemann in center might be a better option than Valera in right. You put DeLauter in right, and I guess you give up on Valera for the day. That way you can get some offense in there if you feel like DeLauter is your best chance without sacrificing defense too much. Like there's a lot of inherent risk with DeLauter playing center field. He has never played that outfield before. It is not easy to play center. So you're possibly risking, some
higher stress on the body as well, playing center as opposed to the other.
Yeah, I don't think you got to worry about that with DeLauter at all, right? I think his body, he's not Mr. Glass. I think he'll be fine. Yeah, it's a big risk, but I'm better with that risk than I am than Rodriguez playing right field. I'll say that.
Who do you want in right field tomorrow? Right below Jonathan Rodriguez or me? The answer is still Rodriguez. I hate to break it to everyone. It's still Rodriguez.
The answer, no. The correct answer is 2025 Manny Ramirez. That's the right answer. That's the right answer in right field.
It's the rally dino. It's the
rally dino for sure. Yeah, he'll. He's the skeleton's not a statue at all. I think the Guardians will bounce back and win this game. I do believe they are good with their backs against the wall the way this has been going. Like I said, I think Tanner Bibee is the right pitcher for the right moment. They'll figure it out. We'll be playing game 3. The problem is there's not a lot of history that says there'll be a game 3. No AL team at home has ever been down 0-1 in the wild card series, which is 22, 23, 24, and 1. There actually has never been a 3-game series in the American League Wild Card Series the last 3 years. There's only been 2 in the National League, and both times the lower seed won them. So
before anyone freaks out, I would argue it's a small sample size. It's just
very.
It's not. It's only been what? This is its 4th year or 3rd year.
It's the 4th year if you don't count 2020.
Yeah. So
we're not counting 2020. All right, we'll be back on Wednesday to talk about the Guardians' win, and we'll preview Game 3. I'm sorry, Thursday. Talk about the Guardians win and preview Game 3. I will be live on Wednesday after the game to have a quick reaction to Guardians Tigers when they win and push this to Game 3. Yeah.
I'm just glad I don't have an IEP meeting I can forget about again at the end of it. This game will distract me from bad teaching thanks to bad baseball. Thanks a lot, Guardians. I want to thank you all, though, who joined us today. Hopefully you enjoyed our discussion. Continue the discussion in the comments below. That helps us out. Remember to rate and review, download. It helps. Thank you all. And go Guardians, go.